Hey y'all, so I am late getting into reviewing the newest season of Ready to Love Houston, but I hope to be more consistent with the rest of the season because honestly, I feel like with competitive seasons like this, it really starts to get good after like 5, 6 episodes because you really just kind of filter out all the like what feels like filler people, and then you really get into all of the meat of what's going on with these people. So this will be, I want to say it's episode 5, but it's the episode that, well, it starts with Red getting eliminated and then ends with Unique getting eliminated, which is kind of funny since they both had a fight the last episode. So anyway, so yeah, Red gets eliminated at the beginning of the episode, which honestly, we didn't need a cliffhanger. This is their second cliffhanger this season, and y'all not even deep in. Like it wasn't a big deep elimination. Okay, it wasn't a fear of, oh no, what's gonna happen? Oh, we've been so attached. When Red decided to confront Unique in the public, I saw that as he gone because everyone is seeing it, everyone's gonna hear it. There's like no way. But I will say, because I am curious, is Janelle was kind of, well, she said she was feeling Red. I can't remember what episode that was, like 2 episodes ago. She was feeling Red, and she even got mad at Kira for, flirting with him too. Well, she didn't get mad at Kira. She just shaded Kira, but she got mad at Red for talking to Kira. But anyway, so she was mad about that, and she was going about him, and since then there's been nothing about him, and I'm like, huh, interesting. But vice versa is being, could be said about him because he seemed to be interested in her too, and he hasn't said interest in her. But I don't think he really cared about her like that. I think he just enjoyed the attention. But anyway, yeah, he got eliminated. I was glad that he was. I was afraid that he was gonna be another. Ooh, what is his name from last season? Ooh, I cannot remember that man's name from last season. The guy who had like the high top fade that just seemed to just get like he was hanging on by a thread in the process. But that's what Red was giving me if he didn't get eliminated soon. Because he wasn't connecting with the women. He was boringly. He was getting on Unique's nerves. So, but he's gone. And so this week, it's the ladies' turn to eliminate, and no, it's the men's turn to eliminate a lady. And Tommy challenged them to talk about their non negotiables. Now, I do like that as a great topic of conversation, a great driving point with determining your connection with someone. Well, not connection with someone, but your pursuit, I should say. Because if someone is not on the same page for something that's very important to you, that's what non-negotiables are. Like, it is something that's important to you. That's why you're saying, I cannot pursue someone or see myself with someone if they don't want this like I do in some ways. And so it's a great thing to like filter out, okay, how serious do I want to keep going, you know? My only problem is whenever Tommy gives them these topics of discussion, they always say that. So Tommy wants us to talk about our non-negotiable. It's like that's the magic word of the day, non-negotiable, and it's just like, I mean, just to me, I would say I would start like I said, it's something that's important. So I would start off saying what's something that's like really, really important to you when you are looking at a potential relationship or looking at the potential longevity of the relationship that you're in. Just like vary it up because it just gets redundant and it really doesn't feel like you are genuine about knowing it because you're just literally repeating Tommy's words. Like, there are other ways to say the same things. But anyway, so the first date that we see, I feel like we saw a lot of dates this episode. The first date that we saw was with Janelle, Katarina, Quentin, and I think his name is Herbert. Now, I have to say, so far with this cast, none of the men are, not men, none of the people are hitting for me. Maybe with the exception of a couple people, but like this episode, for me, I didn't find anybody likable. The only person in this episode that gave likable vibes was Quentin, but I don't know. There's something off about Quentin to me because I just found it so weird that he said he said something strong about two women, and it's like, well, wait, who are you more interested in? Because it's giving Janelle, but you claim that you see Lee as someone you like. It feels like you're already there with Lee, and it's like, So for me, it's giving fake. Like, it's really given he knows how to put on a good front for the women. But anyway, so back to this date. So before Katarina came, it was just Janelle and the guys, and Herbert was asking her about her situationships, and she was like, well, I don't know, because I don't get a text back from you. And I don't know, like Herbert, to me, he just feels weird. Like him and I think his name is Phil, they just seem kind of, no, not even him, Phil, and Marie feel really out of place on this show. Like, the energy that I get from those men in particular, they are not serious about it. They are not like legitimate, and they just want clout. Like, that's just the energy I get from them, because it feels like when they say that they have this high interest in someone, it doesn't feel like they're being genuine about it. So Herbert is someone, like, I do see Herbert lasting for a little bit. Like, I see him being there more than the other two guys I just said. But, yeah, I don't really care for Herbert and anything he says. Because it just gives me, like, he doesn't care and he's not taking it serious. So I just, like, find myself rolling my eyes. They're playing a game. They had fun with it. And it seemed like a cool date. The next date we saw was, I might be going out of order saying this, but we saw Chris and Aries having a date, and he had her at his home. And he had a chef. Listen, for me, as someone who does not like to cook, ever since I was like a young teenager, I was like, if there's any luxury service that I could pay for and have pretty much all the time, it would be a chef. You know, I really don't need a maid to clean up. I really don't need a butler, like a assistant like that. I really don't need a driver like that. I would love a chef. And I gotta tell my boyfriend, like, later in our lives, get me a chef. Give me a personal chef date, because I hate cooking. But anyway, so I love that was his idea of like an intimate date at his home. The problem is that it feels like this is not the woman for it, because they seem like they have sweet spirits, but when he was crying about his mom, she didn't come over to him. All she said was, it's okay, I think. She just like says something like simple, but she never comforted him. She didn't try to hug him, put her hand on him, hold his hand, nothing. So it really just gave me that energy of, this is what you do? Oh, And not to say that she lost like respect for him or anything. I just think for her, he just isn't her type of man. I don't know. I love the way that he treated her. I just don't think that she's reciprocating the potential feelings that he might be growing for her. I didn't feel like secure vibes with them. Like, I felt secure vibes with how Quentin and Janelle are feeling each other, with the way they were flirting. But these two, I didn't really feel something getting solidified. So, um, so we see Marvin and Unique going out, and I love the setup of it. I felt like it was really country, but like in a nice way, with them having they rode horses and then they had a picnic. I thought that was another great romantic setup. So I'm like, okay, this is some nice, cool dates in a row. I don't know how they got to a kiss. It just seemed to come out. I felt like I turned my head for 1 second and they were kissing, and it just felt so awkward. It didn't feel genuine, and the fact that she was trying to cover their mouths, like, girl, you don't think we could put two and two together? Why you trying to cover the kiss up like there ain't a big old camera crew there? Ugh. But they after that, then they got to talk about their non-negotiables, and this is where she lost points with Marvin because he was talking about how he's got to have his son, and I mean, I don't know if there's more that we just obviously didn't see, but she was just like, well, what if that's not possible? Basically saying, what if I can't get pregnant? What if I never can produce the boy? Like, what if that's just not healthy? like, but he just was so he was turned off. Like, he just wasn't interested anymore. And, I always feel like on Ready to Love, the first people to kiss, it always feels like a ooh, okay, we really getting into the season. This was not the good kickoff. Like I said, we still got some more filtering out to do, but that kiss was not the good kickoff of the season. Ugh. Anyway, we have a group date doing an improv date, which I thought was a very unique idea, but I felt like it was perfect for one, a group setting, and two, getting to know each other in a different way. Because if you think about it, improv, you just think what comes to your head and you think what makes sense in the situation that you're given, the dialogue, and it really kind of, unless you're not an actor, which, none of these people are, quote unquote, you're almost just saying what would you be doing in these situations as yourself. So you really get into the psyche of how this person who you don't really know thinks, behaves, and I think it's a cool idea. Now, what threw me off was Marie in them children's overalls. Ain't no way. He got on my nerves this episode. He did. That ugly outfit was so unattractive. It is so unattractive. I'm impartial to overalls on adults in general, like male or female, but his was unacceptable. It didn't fit right and didn't look good, and it just the type of overalls, because they were the overall shorts, wasn't the look. I know he thought he was doing something when he put that on. Now, I don't know if he thought, because you mentioned before with Sierra being a stylist, that and she was on this date. I don't know if he thought that, this is like an edgy thing, I'm gonna impress her. Anyway, so on this date, it was Chris, Sierra, Jessica, either Herbert or Phil. I think it was Herbert. And Marie, of course, and Kira. And Chris and Jessica, they went first, and it was about like a car accident. And she was real snappy, very much like it's your fault, you didn't listen to me. But, she broke it down to basically feeling like, I just want to make sure that no matter what bad situation goes on, you're going to be able to take care of me and, like, step up. But it almost felt like the way that she was talking to him was like she was annoyed with him. Now remember, the last episode, the rodeo, they he had to leave early for work, and Jessica was showing him off and showing him out and told him to, call her when he got home. And maybe he never did, or maybe she heard about the fancy date he had with Aries that he set up, and she hasn't had that with him. It just felt like she just wasn't in, like she was, like I said, like she was feeling some type of way with homeboy. Um, Now the next two, Sierra and Herbert. I wasn't listening, so I don't know what theirs was about. But all I know was that Sierra just kept talking, and she kept trying to make jokes and things like that. Now, Sierra is obviously a jokester. That's just kind of what she does. Like, she will either make a face or make a quip. And I mean, I guess it depends on it just gives more like friend vibes to me. But the last ones was with Kira and Marie. Something with church. I don't remember. But Marie gave, I think he said bedside Bible or bedside God. So he said something bedside, and I thought that was funny. But Kira was just like, I'm really just drawing a blank, trying to talk. Like there was like, it was his fault. And it's like, well, maybe you're just not interesting, because Marie was given. You just didn't know how to give back, or you just wasn't feeling it. Whatever. I can't stand her at all. So we see, who else goes on the date? So we see Unique, Quentin, and Kira go on like I think it was a kickboxing date. Interesting trio. Oh, before we get to that, Phil and Katarina had a date, and it gave nothing. Like, I feel like we knew more about Phil. I think with him not really caring about his spiritualness and not so much religion anymore. But we didn't really get much from Katarina. I feel like Katarina is holding back. She definitely gives me this persona of masking. Like, I love her style, but like these like thick wigs, her heavy makeup, her energy. I just feel like she is putting on a front, knowing that she's on TV and knowing that she's trying to impress these guys. Like, it's just not giving genuineness. So it's kind of like, for me, I don't know how to feel about you, girl. And she's giving me boring. Anyway, so okay, the last date with the three I just said. I mean, I wish that Quentin really let Kira have it about her comment, because I don't know. I feel like Kira, because Quentin looks like a football player. Like, he looks like he would have played pro. And that's what she did for work before, when she was a Dallas cheerleader. So she was around those guys. And from the pictures that you can see on her Instagram, a lot of the women were white. So, and maybe she saw a lot of the football players going for these white women. And I think, to her, because he looks like a football player, he's got to be more into like the white women. But again, he made a point, like, I wouldn't be on this show if that was my preference. Because if at this point, everyone knows that Ready to Love is for black people. Now, you might be mixed, but for the most part, you identify and look like a black person. But we're not going to find our Hispanics, our Indians, our Asians, our especially white people. Like, we're not finding those people on this show. So for her to say that didn't make any sense to me. And then when he was like, I've never been with a white person, and she almost seemed like shocked, like, what? Never? Girl, not everybody dates outside their race, and it's not like a negative thing. It's just I have dated a few people I have dated some Hispanics and white. But I haven't dated anybody Asian. So if I say that, are you going to be like, what? You've never? No. Is that a problem? Like, all the races in the world? So anyway, but and then he was like, I mean, and I've dated his. She asked him then about with Hispanic, and he was like, well, yeah. So she's like, okay, so is that your preference? It's like, why does that have to be his preference? Because he's dated one or two before, or whatever. Ugh. So he was turned off, and I would be too. Like, I get turned off by people who project the type of people you would date on you. Like, I've had a couple of people have said that to me. Like, I'm a black woman, and I've had some people tell me about, oh, you look like you would date like a white guy, or is that your preference? Oh, you don't look like you would date somebody hood. And to me, it's just like, what does that even mean? Like, I feel like you're saying it as an insult. So, anyway, when we get to the lounge, I realized that we didn't see Christopher. And we saw so many dates. We saw every man do a date of some sort except for him. And I was like, that's how you know it's still too many people left when you still don't get to see everybody do a date. We also didn't see Lee do a date too. But given that this episode was for the men to eliminate, you would hope to see most of the men. But anyway, overall, a lot of the men were saying, because I don't really care about who they're feeling. The only one who stood out to me was Quentin when he said that Lee, it feels like they already are in a relationship, but Janelle is his strongest and number one. That don't make no sense to say about those two women. Anyway, so getting into who they weren't feeling. A lot of them said Aries, Unique, and Kira. Now, Kira being in the bottom was spoiled because if you watch the preview for this episode, Marie's flat out tells her, so we were talking with Tommy, and then she was like, oh, good or bad. So we already knew she was going to be up, but I was thinking, wait a minute, is Aries about to be in the bottom? Because it's really giving me its Unique's time. But that's who it ended up being. And so yeah, I don't know. I would have eliminated both of them. They did this when they were in Houston a few years ago. Early on too, they eliminated two women, and I feel like this would have been appropriate. I don't think anyone is here for the potential attitude and that Unique has, the kind of standoffish vibe that she gives a bit. And of course, no one is studying Kira's behavior. Maybe the only reason why Kira did not get eliminated was because Christopher said that she had his interests. But that was it. So, that was this episode. Like I said, it's I'm still waiting for things to kind of fill her out so it gets a little better feeling. I will say who's next. I do not see Sierra lasting long because no one seems to be really interested in her. I don't see Kira lasting long at some point. I feel like they're going to get annoyed with her too. I don't see Phil lasting long. I don't see Marie lasting long. And I'm on the fence with Jessica and Lee. Like, I see potential to stay and I see potential to leave. It's really going to depend on how, everything else like filters out with their relationships with everyone else. But that was this episode. Let me know what y'all are thinking of this season so far. Are you liking it? I know I like this better than Miami. Tommy, don't ever go back to Miami or Florida at all. It is so tainted. You had 2 bad seasons back to back. Bad seasons. So just no more. If you're going to come back to the South, go to Atlanta. But don't go down to Florida no more. They're already a mess in general in life. And it's clear in the dating.